Hello everybody, welcome back to part 2. Oh, I'm ready. Let's get going here. We are playing once again on the PokerVIP private cash game tables on TonyBet. It is John versus myself, heads up to kick off our action today. For those of you who've seen part 1, we've already developed a little bit of a dynamic. I think, if anything, I would say that John expected me to play a little bit tighter than I did. Having watched his part, he says that I played a little bit looser than he expected, but I don't think the dynamic is going to play into it too much. Still very, very early in our matchup. We go for the check raise here with the 7 and the 5. We don't have too much equity. We just have a gut shot, but I do think we can get some check raises. From what I saw in the video yesterday, John tended to be c-betting pretty wide. I think we could potentially triple barrel off here. I like not having any spades in our hand since he can get to the river and fold spades. And he's still going to have some weak/marginal things in his range by the river, I would imagine. So I'm going to apply the pressure here nice and early. We'll go for a turn bet and probably a river bet on non-spades. John into the time bank. See, we're putting him to the test nice and early. I think that's good. Got to get him thinking here from minute 1. And I think we will bet the river. It's a little bit tricky for me to rep anything now, but I don't think he's ever folding a 9. There's just no way he's folding a 9. We're really only trying to get him to fold like Jack 10, 6, 7, some spades. I guess he can have like King X of spades. I'm not entirely convinced I want to bluff here now, actually. No, we do. I think we've got to pull the trigger once we get to this river card. He may even still have some stubborn 8s in his range. I know John likes to c-bet almost all of his pairs on textures like this, so we can potentially find a fold from an 8. He'll know that I'm capable of value betting some 9s as well like this, I think. So it seems reasonable. When he goes into time bank, it's not good, because if he's got a hand like Jack 10, he just snap folds. This means he's got a pair, and I have a feeling he won't fold. I apologize if there's a little bit of background noise today. It's raining here, and you might be able to pick it up. So hopefully it should be okay, though. He's certainly considering a fold. Right-hand side, we're just going to check down without any spades. I think this is going to be reasonable. Plenty of showdown value. He's not said anything to me in the chat. What a fun hand to kick us off. We're going to 3-bet on the right-hand side. Not this big. Got him. Will be interesting to see. Don't forget, in this series, the fun thing is you can watch 2 videos. You can watch this part of me playing, and then you can go over and watch from John's perspective. So once you've seen, or if you're watching this one first, be sure to check out John's video, and you can see what he folded in that situation. We're going to defend the 9-10 offsuit here on the button. We are going to defend the ace-3 as well. I think this is just about okay. Right-hand side, we are going to bet once John checks to us. We have an open-ender. We have 10 high. If we can get him to fold anything when we have 10 high, that's good. Right-hand side, I think checking back definitely best. I don't expect him to check too many better hands on this board, but exercising a little bit of pot control is probably going to be fine, so we will just check to the river. We pick up some showdown value on table 1. He can definitely have some ace-kings this check call range, but his range is going to be significantly wider than that. I do think we'll check behind now. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to try and make a value bet at the river with ace-3. If he has a hand like king 10, king queen, we can definitely get called, I think. And a little bit too thin, he has the ace-9. Left-hand side, I don't think I want to turn my hand into a bluff. He's going to have some kings. I don't think he folds 2 pair, of which he has a few combos too, so we'll just take showdown. And he flops top 2 and check calls. So what we can gain from that hand, I think, is that he expects me to be very aggressive in general. Queen Jack there is like an auto c-bet against anyone else for John, probably. The fact that he tried to check call against me probably just means that he thinks I'm going to bet every time he checks to me. Reload fish. Ah. What a lovely reminder here. We had our auto rebuy off. We have enough showdown value here just to check the river, I think. 10 is going to be good very, very often once he doesn't double barrel here. I don't know how often bet check bet is a bluff. Probably not too often, but I'm probably going to end up calling, since I would lead all my aces at the river and try and value bet thinly against Jon. I probably have to check call here. And he has the Jack-7. Calling on the left-hand side with 5s. Jon seems to be 3-betting me significantly more than he did yesterday. And given what we just spoke about, in that he expects me to bet all the time, so he's going to check some strong stuff to me, I think we gotta just check down with the 5s. Having a spade, obviously good. And we'll just pot control 1 on the turn and never fold the river. Definitely picking that one off. Jon turns the set, but we have the spade. How little he must think of me to try and value bet here. He must think I'm calling off with some non-spade hands, obviously. It feels like I say, he expects me to be, or he thought that I played a lot looser than he was expecting from the first video. So he seems to be trying to do some funky stuff. Maybe thinks I'm playing a little bit wildly, shall we say. We're going to try and value bet twice on the left-hand side. We get 4-bet over here. I think he's going to definitely have a decent amount of 4-bet bluffs. Ace-Jack's probably strong enough to call. We could certainly consider a jam as well, but I think I like calling. His 4-bet bluff range is going to be some suited aces and stuff like that. So I think we're going to play okay against those. I know he spoke yesterday about potentially 4-betting ace-9 if I got out of line too much in part 1. So if he's choosing to 4-bet bluff hands like that, then ace-jack's going to play fine as a defend. I think we will just fold here without any spades, though. And again, that's just because I think he's going to have a decent amount of kings in his range. Some nut flushes even. I think he's just going to be trying to lay the trap on me real hard. So we're going to try and dodge it as best we can. Defending with the ace-7 of hearts, I don't think we really want to 3-bet this hand. Pretty fun that we get to play what looks like a reasonable amount of heads up so far. Don't forget, you guys can follow this thread along on the PokerVIP website and get involved. Just going to call here with the 4s. Checking back our ace high. Jon's definitely going to barrel here, and he also expects me to bluff this situation a lot, I would imagine. He expects me to bluff quite a bit in general, so we are going to raise the turn with our 4, as we're going to value bet on the right-hand side. We get joined by Flip-O-Matic on both tables, so we do go into 3-handed. Jon calls, and I think we just want to shovel in here again. We're very polarized. He's going to expect me to bluff a lot. The texture changes quite significantly, so he might think I'm going to try and bluff him off like a 7. With a hand like 5-6 of clubs would be not unreasonable. So I do think we just put him all in here for the whole stack. Just make him make a decision, right? Like, he's going to be very suspicious. He doesn't want to get, shown up on the video or whatever. I think he's going to call here pretty wide. I would even go as far to say that I think he can hear a call a 7 here. Right-hand side, we go for a value bet of ace-5 at the river. This is an interesting spot in terms of Jon's value range, because I think a hand like ace-queen, he's definitely 3-betting pre-flop. I think he would check-raise turn with ace-4, ace-2, ace-8. So I'm not entirely convinced he has too much of a value range here. I guess he can have a hand like queen-8, but that's about it. So I think I'm going to call, actually. And he's got 4-8, which is another possibility, but not too many 2-pair combos. I'm kind of surprised he didn't go for either a check raise on the turn. I think leading the turn would be bad just because the ace hits my range so well. I guess this is fine, though. He probably doesn't have too many bluffs that want to check raise turn, so probably shouldn't check raise with too many value hands either. But like I said, I think we only lose to like Queen 8, 8-4. Maybe he has some ace-x, like 2-pair ace-x hands as well. Ace-4, ace-8, or whatever. So it might be a little bit thin if he's not raising the turn with those hands. But with the information we had, I think we're probably okay to call. And again, you've got to take this video and understand that in any regular game, obviously that river bet call is going to be complete spew. It's just never, nobody's really bluffing there enough to warrant calling. But with Jon and I going at it for the purposes of this video, I think there's just going to be way more aggression than in any reasonable game. So I'm okay with the bet call against Jon, but against regular opponents, this is obviously going to be bad. Table filling up nicely on the left-hand side. Hopefully we've got some PokerVIP members who are playing in the game and getting involved in the forum thread and watching the videos and all that sort of stuff. So we'll see how left-hand side develops. I don't think there's anybody from part 1 who's rejoined us here for part 2 that I recognized. Valormis, definitely, actually. He played in part 1. We got him on both tables. Jon winning a nice pot over here with his top set King-King. 5-3 diamonds probably a little bit too wide to be opening from the cutoff. So we'll fold, and 5-2 off likewise. I think we ended up a little bit after part 1. I think we're up a little bit today. Probably about break even, actually. But a small winner so far. Can't complain. As left-hand side, we've got an all-in for €10 over a 30-cent raise and a call. And ace-jack and ace-king. This is a pretty adventurous play from our friend Soka89. Looks like he just wants to gamble for that €10. I don't think I want to bluff here with the 5 and the 4. We have very little showdown value. Well, we have 0 showdown value. Can't really take 5 high to showdown and expect to be good ever. But I don't really feel like we're getting enough folds out of Jon. Just in general, to warrant bluffing when we have very little equity to improve. Very few outs that are going to make our hand better. One thing Jon did notice, or did comment upon yesterday, is that we played I played very loose in the early stages, and then tended to tighten up quite significantly when we went to 5-handed. Now I think that's only reasonable to expect us to play a lot looser when we're in a short-handed game, but I may try and keep the aggression up a little bit, shall we say, once we go 5-handed. We'll see how things pan out. Just going to fold this trash though. I'm going to carry on opening pretty wide on the button. I think 9-6 suited is going to be reasonable. Probably not strong enough to defend. We obviously want to call the button pretty wide with suited connectors here, but I think this is just a little bit too disconnected to justify calling on even position, and even against Jon, who's going to be attacking us pretty liberally. But I still think this is a fold. 9-7 suited. I might have a defend against Jon. Against anyone else, probably start with 9-8 suited. Fold my 2-gappers, call my connectors, call most of my broadways. And then like 6s plus in terms of pairs, just because they have a little bit more playability than like 2s through 5s. I think it's probably going to be okay to fold. I'm going to chuck in a 3-bet bluff here on the button with the Jack-6 suited. Like I say, I think we're just going to try and play fairly aggressively. Soccer89, unfortunately, like I say, he just jammed €10 with ace-jack. Maybe he's looking to gamble. So this might not be the smartest idea. Since he has $3.60, he might just want to punt with something. But hopefully he does not, because I won't be able to call off with Jack-6. We open the ace-queen. We get a call from Jon in the button and the small blind. I think I'm going to go ahead and see bet. It does look pretty strong into 2 opponents. We have the queen of hearts and 2 overs. Interestingly, Flippomatic cold calls here. I think he can have ace-king. This is probably not a board that's going to do us too many favors. We're just going to overbet this turn, put a lot of pressure on him. I think he'll tend to play sets and the like pretty quickly, even on a monotone flop. I'm not happy when we get called. Obviously, we do river a queen. I think it would be too thin to value bet now once he calls an overbet on the turn. I think he's going to pot control, or rather, I don't think he's going to call too much worse at the river. Like, he can definitely flat some flop flushes here. So I think we just take our showdown now. And he does indeed have the flop flush. But I think this is one of the only hands he can call turn with. I would expect him to play sets pretty quickly, just because he's quote-unquote scared of another heart rolling off. So unless he's flopped a flush, I think we're getting in a reasonable amount of folds when we overbet, and we have decent outs against anything else that calls. But just taking the showdown is probably okay by the river. Would be way too thin to try and value bet there. I think, for example, if he has like ace-9, he's almost certainly folding river. And pocket tens, jacks, 3-bets pre-flop, so value betting would be way too thin. Maybe once in a blue moon he has like king-queen with a king of hearts that we lose some value against, but I think his range is just pretty much too strong once he calls the big bet on the turn. John's going for it on the left-hand side, all in re-ISOing Soccer 89 shove. But yeah, I don't mind it when we have the Queen of Hearts blocker here on the right-hand side for that bluff either. He's not going to have too many heart combos that call out of the small blind. Decision apparently for Tinter 23, who is not snap folding. I think Soccer 89 is obviously going to be pretty wide, which in turn means that John can ISO him pretty wide, like ace-queen, tens plus probably. He does just have the kings though, because some people just run like that. Got the hearts covered too. So John scoops it all. Very unfortunate spot for Tinter 23. He definitely can't fold here, just because we've already seen Soccer jam really wide, and he's pretty wide again there with the ace-jack. So if John does have a hand like, I think pocket nines, ace-queen, all those hands are going to reshove. So Tinter well within his rights to call off with the queen-queen. Just pretty unlucky that John is a luck box and wakes up with the kings. We open from the button, we get 3-bet. Again, this is pretty close. I think we're just going to fold. A little bit too much disconnect in our cards. And ace-6 shan't be an open from the cutoff, especially when we're already facing some playback from John, and Flip-O-Matic gave us a 3-bet. So yeah, we're just going to lay this one down. Ernesto Sol from PokerVIP is the black ship. Good luck, sir. Queens this time working out a little bit better for Tinter. Picks up a pot versus the jacks. We're going to 3-bet this versus a button open, and we'll 3-bet versus a small blind open as well. Unfortunately, we get a walk. Let's see here. Let's take auto muck off. Let's take a little break from the strategy content just a minute here. Obviously, opening 7-2 off in any position is not going to be the best idea, but since this is a PokerVIP private table and we're playing with PokerVIP members, especially John, see, this is what you get. Are we going to put in the 4-bet just for funsies? Don't try this at home. We get cold 4-bet by John. I think I picked the wrong time to bluff with 7-2, didn't I? Alright, I'm going to fold. I'm just going to fold. And we'll turn auto muck back on. That puts me well and truly back in my pen. Left-hand side, I think we can take a flop on the button with 4-5 of clubs. I would expect this to go multi-way a decent amount, and we got a nice multi-way hand on the button. When we don't see a c-bet here, I think we're going to turn a hand into a bluff. We do have some backdoor equity with a 4 or 5. We've got a very, very unlikely backdoor straight draw. I'm just going to go ahead and bet. I expect my opponents to, especially John, to bet here with a jack, given the texture. He goes for the check call. We get called in 2 spots, which is definitely not good. And given that Jon can probably still have like ace-7, ace-jack, some nut flush draws, as can Tinto, I think we've got to slow down on the ace. Pretty unfortunate. Maybe we're just over-bluffing a little bit at the moment, like I say, and Jon is just checking really strong hands to us with the expectation that I bet too much. So we might need to just take our foot off the gas a little bit. And clearly we're going to have to fold this river. But what will Jon do? I think Jon was probably trying to value bet here with a jack. Whoa, Tinta 23 showing the 7-4 offsuit. Be sure to check out Jon's video to see again what Jon has folded in that situation. I would imagine Jon's trying to make a value bet there with a jack. Most likely trying to make a value bet with a jack. And I think pretty reasonable fold. I wouldn't expect this to ever be a bluff. Tinta can certainly have nut flush draws. He can certainly have hands like ace-7, definitely ace-jack. What was the flop? It was like jack-7-4 or jack-7-5 because we had 4-5. So he can have full houses with ace-4. So he's going to have a very, very decent amount of aces in his range. So I think Jon is correct to bet fold a jack probably. I don't think we really want to call here with the king-10, but we can probably find a 3-bet. The hand's probably too easily dominated versus the range of hands that open here, but we can get some folds with a 3-bet. Take a little bit of initiative in position. We do have a backdoor straight draw. I think I'm going to c-bet. It's not a great board if he called here with something like ace-king, ace-queen that can possibly not want to 4-bet, as well as like sixes. If he's really wide, like 6-7 of hearts. I doubt he's that wide though. I think we will take a c-bet, however. We can barrel a queen, a 9, an ace. We can probably barrel a king. This guy does not want me to see a turn apparently. He's all in. We're just going to fold. Plenty of hands for us to call there. We would probably call off a jack. I think when he makes this move, just shoving all in there, he's very draw heavy. It's just going to be like a flush draw the vast majority of the time. So we would obviously just call off any jack that we 3-bet and c-bet. Something like king jack, ace jack would be reasonable 3-bets that didn't want to call. And then obviously we call off pocket jacks, queens, kings, aces, and the like. And probably like ace-king of clubs as well, just because we'd have a lot of equity. We can crush his smaller draws, like his 9-10 with a backdoor flush draw or something if he chooses to shove that. So, lots of hands for us to call there. Quiet today, Spraggy. Lost your bottle, mate. What is wrong with this guy? Just biding my time. Interesting that Jon thinks I've lost my bottle. He won't think that when he watches part 2 this video back and sees that we bluffed him in one of the very first hands with the 7-5 offsuit and he tank folded the river. But since then, not too much has worked out for us. Like I say, I think maybe we want to slow down a little bit. Opening 7-2 offsuit was certainly pretty dumb. Of course. Of course. Not a lot we can do in terms of attacking Jon. He says we've lost our bottle, but things like 2-6 off, just not going to work for us. Our aggression against Jon must be considered. You know what I mean? Obviously, we want to try and get one over on him because we're making this video series as a little bit of a battle, if you will, but we can't go crazy. We might be able to find a defend here for a min-open with the 6-8 offsuit. It's a pretty crummy hand, but for the price, I think we want to defend a lot of big blinds. I think when nobody else gets involved, we're probably just going to give it up there. Here's a hand we can certainly get involved with. Jack-10 suited. Very, very playable stuff. Most likely going to play it as a 3-bet from the small blind. Small blind here out of position is a spot where we don't really want to call too much at all. So if Valormus opens, we will 3-bet him. As played, we're just going to raise into Vitra's big blind. And if we see a 3-bet here, I wouldn't hate a call at all. I think that would be perfectly reasonable. I expect a decent amount of 3-bets from the big blind. People tend not to 3-bet as much from the big blind, just because they feel like they can take a lot of flops in position. But still, I think defending Jack-10 suited would be okay. Very, very decent flop for us. I don't think he has ace-queen in his range. That's going to be a 3-bet pre-flop. And we've got a lot of equity with our gut shot and flush draw. We do make a flush on the turn. This was the table where we overbet as a bluff previously. Now, I'm not sure how much Vitra is paying attention, but I think I'm going to overbet this turn with my Jack-10. If he has ace-x with a spade, he's definitely going to call. Maybe even ace-x without a spade, just because this is a pretty suspicious line. If he has queen, like the queen of spades, I can imagine some calls. So I'm going to go with the overbet on the turn. And unfortunately, we get a fold. But we in a situation where there's been a little bit of quite a lot of aggression on this table, and we overbet once as a bluff on this turn with the ace queen. If he's been paying attention, then he probably won't fold an ace, especially blind v blind. Unfortunately, we just get the fold though. Sixes on the left hand side. We will be defending, I would expect, most likely with a call. I think Tinter's bluff just got picked off again here. John had like 8-7 or something. So he does seem to be quite the aggressive player with his river raise. Vitra says Lionel is a nit, and John says confirmed. Shambles. Absolute shambles. I've already overbet bluff the ace-queen. I already raised the 7-2 offsuit. And now I'm getting called a nit. Shocker. I don't want to be called a nit. I think Jack-9 off is probably an okay open here from the cut-off, 5-handed with Flipper-matic not involved currently. John comes along for the defense from the small blind, and we finally get to play another pot together. I think this is a board we should be c-betting a lot. A lot of John's ace-x want a 3-bet out of the small blind. I think he can use some suited aces as a 3-bet from the small blind, his strong aces as a small bet from the 3-blind. Yeah, as a 3-bet from the small blind, rather. So I don't think he has too many ace-x. He's obviously going to have a lot of pocket pairs that call here. But we can find folds from those by the river if we get the correct run-out. And this is probably the correct run-out. So we're going to go 3 streets small here, which we would do with all our aces as well. So we're just going to go 3 streets small with a Jack-9. Like I said, I don't think he has that many aces in his range. And he folds the turn. Lionel is a nit confirmed. Get your double barrel out with Jack-9. Get the fold out of John. Eat your words, pal. Defending on the left with the Queen-9 versus the button open without any backdoor clubs. I think this is a fold. If this was like Queen-9 of hearts, wouldn't mind a check raise, but not going to bluff against Tinter, who's already shown he can play back at us. We don't have a club, we're just giving up. Right-hand side, pretty good board for the 8 and the 8. We will see that our hand does want to protect itself against overs, so we will bet and get a fold. And just folding the King-3. Vitra with the straddle here, and John with the pretty big raise. I think we're going to re-raise King-Jack suited. I don't really want to defend with a call. Yeah, maybe we could actually. John's going to be raising here pretty wide just because of the 20-cent straddle. And I definitely think John can 4-bet us. And this hand is probably strong enough against John's opening range to call. And we don't really want to 3-bet and get 4-bet. And I think John's going to 4-bet this spot quite a lot just because the straddle's on. And he's going to want to ramp up the aggression. So I really don't hate a call here. A little bit unorthodox, but like I say, we've got obviously our ever-developing dynamic with John. We've got the fact that Vitra straddled. So I think coming along is not so bad. No backdoor spades and no pairs. We are going to check. And I guess we just have to fold this. We do block Queen X, but with Vitra behind us, it's just not going to be viable to float, I don't think. It's interesting, that situation, because I really feel like Jon is checking back too many strong hands, and it's a board he's going to see bet a lot, Queen 6-4 rainbow. And I really feel like he's been trapping us quite a lot, to the point where he might check back a decent amount of his queens. So it makes me feel like he's got way too much air on that flop. But with Vitra behind, it's a real pain to try and do anything, especially without a backdoor flush draw. Now, if we had like King Jack with a backdoor flush draw, I'd be more inclined. If we were heads up, I'd be definitely inclined to float there. And I think a float is better than a raise, just because raising we really don't represent too much. But there you have it. Jon wins the final pot. Pretty fun session. We had definitely some interesting situations with some overbets, one of which, when we had a flush, we got a fold, and when we were bluffing, we got a call, which is a little bit unfortunate. We bluffed Jon with the 5-7 off. We had a nice double barrel with Jack-9, where I don't think he had too many aces in his range. We bet called one with ace-5 at the river that was potentially too thin. But definitely another fun session for part 2. And our dynamic with Jon and some of the other VIP regs continues to develop. We will be back with part 3 soon. But that concludes today's video. Be sure, if you're watching this video, obviously to check out from Jon's perspective. And you can see all the things that he did. All the folds he made against us. All the value bets, I guess, he made against us. But for now, it's been Spraggy for PokerVIP, and I'll see you next time.